being frustrated, not finishing projects, having an idea in your head, but the outcome being nothing like it, getting hung up on things and just taking way too long to figure it out. If this is you, or if this has ever been you, welcome. Welcome to the world of filmmaking. It's awesome to have you here. Look, I was reluctant to make this video because I really don't think it's a good idea to compare yourself to other people and put yourself up against their progress versus yours. Everyone's on their own journey, but after a year of consistent effort and learning, you should ideally see significant improvement in various aspects. So how far along in those improvements should you be? Just before we get started, I actually have a full in-depth filmmaking course that covers everything that you need to know. So if you do feel at all behind, or that you just want that leg up of everything in one area that you guys can focus on and progress through to get your skills up, that course is going to be linked in the top of the description. I highly recommend it as any creator wanting to improve. Let's look at technical skills. You should have a pretty good understanding of your equipment, whether it's your camera, lenses, your lighting, whatever audio equipment you might be using. Your technical skills should have improved noticeably. Your camera gear or lighting gear shouldn't be holding you up and stopping you from doing the creative things at hand and actually focusing on the project that you're trying to create, not fiddling with things like, oh my god, what settings should my camera be in? If you're still struggling with this stuff, no stress. Maybe try a few exercises or drills with your camera gear to familiarize yourself even more so that you can really get that stuff second nature and not have to worry about it, and use up that vital resource of like mental capacity on your gear and stuff instead of focusing on the things that actually matter, which is the creative process, your shots and compositions and storytelling and things like that. That's where we want to be focusing our energy. Segueing straight in, the second thing, how much are you getting hung up on the dumb stuff? I remember when I was starting out and trying to learn and getting way too hung up on silly, like menial tasks, something as stupid as like an export setting or an issue, or why does my slow-mo not work properly, and just taking way too long to figure out the solutions to these problems. Like just being stuck on this thing that shouldn't even really be an issue and kind of just ruining the whole filmmaking process for myself. Hopefully you have repeated this process enough to whereas you've created somewhat of a streamlined process of like creating the content and how your workflow generally works. Number 3 is going to be storytelling. Your ability to tell a compelling story in your visuals should have evolved somewhat over the first year of your filmmaking. This includes things like understanding narrative structure, your shot compositions implemented into your storytelling, and pacing, general things like that. By no means I think you should be at the point of mastering storytelling, if there even is such a thing. After creating content for well over a decade, I have definitely not mastered it. It's something I'm continuously working on and trying to improve, and I think it's a journey that you will continue throughout your filmmaking career. But I do think you should be implementing some form of story into your visuals. It's not just like filming a few shots and piecing them together. Hopefully by now you are at least having some sort of flow, maybe some little 3-part acts. I actually recently did an entire video on some storytelling methods, and if you guys are still unsure of how you should be kind of introducing storytelling into something like a cinematic travel video where there's no talking and like direct narrative drive to compel that story in the direction you want it, there's some really good techniques in there, a couple of little interesting things: circular storytelling, reverse storyboarding. Go and check it out after you watch this video, and I'm sure you guys will learn some things that you can implement into your videos and your storytelling going into your next years of filmmaking. The next thing is going to be creativity, and that's quite broad, but let me specify. You may by now have experimented with different creative techniques and maybe found a bit of your own unique voice. This could involve like exploring new genres, different storytelling techniques, or visual aesthetics and the things that you like to stylize your films. This is something that can take a long time to perfect, not to mention that it's ever evolving anyway. Exploring multiple avenues of styles is a great way for you to kind of figure out where you fit into this creative landscape. And I think, especially in the beginning, I think it's quite nice to dabble in a lot of different styles of creating content, even if it's just for the point of helping you discover which ones you really like. See what excites you, what makes you interested, what do you feel good about shooting, what do you like, whoa, I would really like to shoot that. It's easy to figure that stuff out by kind of filming a lot of everything. It also helps you broaden your skill range, so in the beginning, maybe when you're not picking so specifically what type of content you would like to create, especially if it's paid gigs, you have a bit of skills for a little bit of everything. So if someone offers you a job for shooting some sports event, you can be like, actually I know how to do that, even though it's not my favorite, I can definitely do it. Maybe someone else offers you a corporate gig and you're like, I really wanted to shoot some extreme sports, but you know what, I've had some experience in that as well, let me give it a go. The next thing is gonna be problem solving. Filmmaking often involves overcoming creative challenges. It's like everything. The weather changes, the gear doesn't work properly, your models don't show up. Anything that can go wrong most likely will, but hey, at least you are probably getting a lot of practice in this field, because I know I certainly do. After a year, you should be better at troubleshooting and finding creative solutions to problems that might arise in the filmmaking process. This is honestly such a vital skill in filmmaking. I have this little inside joke with myself and the people that I film with, that as soon as something goes wrong when we're shooting, we're like, oh, there's the thing that can go wrong. Because kid you not, if there's something that can go wrong, it probably will. And we got to the point where we actually just laugh at it, and as soon as that thing does go wrong, we're like, well, there's the thing. That is what is going to be going wrong with this set. Probably not the only thing that will go wrong, but at least now we've got that wrong thing out of the way, we can start working on our creative process. So if you guys have been doing this for a year, maybe you have that same experience, maybe you're much luckier than me, maybe I'm just incredibly unlucky. But hopefully after a year you've developed some skills and know how to work around a lot of the obvious scenarios that would be thrown at you when you are out filmmaking. Let's look at a few editing techniques, because a huge part of the filmmaking process is going through all of that footage and editing it. It would be nice after a year you have a somewhat good understanding of your editing software and you have a nice little streamlined process of how you like to work through it. Maybe you've developed somewhat of a folder structure system that works for you. Maybe it's a few things of how you like to import your footage, how you like to lay out your timeline, where you keep all of your assets like sound effects and stuff, and what order you kind of work through your editing process in. Do you put the music in first? Do you put your visuals in first and then the music? Do you do sound effects after that? Then you do the next thing. It's kind of like your own preference somewhat. But as long as you have started developing some way of streamlining this process, because it is a very, very time-consuming one. And the more streamlined you can get that process, the more content you're going to be able to turn over and therefore improve more. Spend some time working on some shortcut keys and things like that. Have a good understanding of some crucial things that you will use, and develop some systems like presets or anything that you can repeat and rinse and like wash and repeat, or whatever the saying is, so that you can get it onto your videos every time and not have to like rebuild whatever it is that you're working on, like assets and presets and titles and stuff like that. So hopefully after a year you've developed somewhat of a little like asset pack of your own that you can use to streamline that process. Expectation versus reality. Man, this is one that I work on a lot. It's funny how I'm speaking to you guys and I'm only realizing this now, but I've been creatively in this like filmmaking world for well over a decade now. And a lot of these things, I'm still working on them. And I think it's a nice thing to understand that, yes, you are at the very beginning of your journey if you're only a year in, but these things that you're working on are probably gonna still be with you in a decade from now, and you're gonna continuously be improving on them. But it is nice to hit those little milestones. Whatever, I'm getting distracted. Let's talk about expectations versus realities, because in my brain, I have these ideas or these visualizations of how I want the project to turn out, or just that shoot in particular, how I want my shots to be. Maybe I have some ideas, and wow, here's my idea, here's what ends up being the reality of that shoot. They are so far apart that at this point I'm kind of just used to knowing that in the real world, when you actually shooting something and you create something, it's not gonna turn out the exact way that you thought. If you are doing like a big traditional film or something where you're building the set and controlling the lights and controlling every single aspect, yes, probably a better idea if your things turn out exactly the way that you wanted them in the beginning. That's different from when we are like, I wanna go shoot this beach travel video, whatever. Everything is out of your control. So the thing I'm saying with this is, it is nice if you can slowly bring those two things, your visualization and the reality of your shoot once it's complete. If you can get them anywhere, getting closer together like this, I think that's a really good thing. Then for me, they're never like this. It's never exactly, but it can also go both ways. And sometimes the outcome is actually better than what I visualized, but they're never exactly in the same place. But if you have noticed that they are very far apart, that's chill, that's cool. As long as they're kind of coming a little bit closer together, that's really, really helpful. That's gonna be it. Where did you guys kind of scale yourself on this? Is this kind of an accurate thing? I think it's important to remember that growth is often gradual and everyone progresses at their own pace. It's more important to focus on the learning process, feedback, and ever evolving and honing in on your skills. Every creator's journey is unique, so keep celebrating your milestones and keep pushing yourself to continuously learn and evolve. I hope you guys found this fun. I'll see you in the next one. Have fun. Bye.